You are so awesome. The gentleman with the dangerous right. Such a proper chap. I love you, mate.
Nice try, fella, but you're still not getting my triple-header tickets.
Spoonie! Yo, Timmy Witherspoon, my main man. The Spooner, the comeback kid. Hanging with the Spooner. I love you, bro. Don't leave me hanging.
Let me guess. You want triple-header tickets. Ain't gonna happen.
Spooner, don't dish me, man.
The following is a special presentation of HBO Sports.
On a typical Friday evening in New York City, approximately 43,000 theater-goers witnessed the greatest live performances Broadway has to offer. But tonight, the toughest ticket in town is just blocks away, where Madison Square Garden plays host to one of the biggest nights of heavyweight boxing in recent history. For fight fans from all walks of life, this is the place to be.
Mr. Mayor, yeah, can you give us your thoughts on tonight's heavyweight event?
Well, I'm certainly hoping to enjoy one of the biggest sporting events ever in the great mecca of boxing right here in Madison Square Garden. It's great for New York and for fight fans all over.
The greatest mayor in New York history, standing up for the working man. You are so special.
Well, thank you, son. I wish everyone remembered me that way.
Oh, you're kidding me? Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, and Ted Koch. You're a New York legend, and I love you, man.
Listen, son, how'd you like to join me at the fight?
Are you ringside?
Of course. And guess who's buying the beer?
No problem. I'm really good at getting that beer. Let's just get to them seats. Are they really ringside? Right up front? You can't believe it. I'm going to the fight with the mayor.
Tonight, live from Madison Square Garden in New York City, HBO Sports presents a star-studded evening of heavyweight action in a special triple-header edition of World Championship Boxing. First, former champion Tim Witherspoon faces Jorge Luis Gonzalez. And then after that, former title holder Lennox Lewis against Olympic gold medalist Ray Mercer. And then to wrap up the evening, former two-time heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield takes on Bobby Chaz, one-time champion of the cruiserweight and light heavyweight divisions.
All right. Well, Mayor Koch, you got to hand it to you. He's a great seat.
I know, people. This didn't come easy.
No, well, I can tell. Listen, I know you got some pull here. You think you get a little popcorn up here?
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to put together a card.
Yeah.
I think that if we had Tyson and Bo as a match, you know, they both come from Bed-Stuy.
Yeah. Got a feeling those two guys are going to be talking together all night. And with that Madison Avenue-based foray into humor, we bring you back to 7th Avenue for a big night of heavyweight boxing. Very quickly, let's run down the card on this heavyweight triple-header once again. In the first of the three fights, you'll see former two-belt heavyweight champion Tim Witherspoon takes on Jorge Luis Gonzalez. You saw Gonzalez meet his Waterloo a year ago against Riddick Bowe. It's still the only loss in his career. Then in the second of the three bouts, the man who won the Olympic super heavyweight gold medal at Seoul in 1988, Lennox Lewis, faces the man who won the heavyweight gold medal for the United States, Merciless Ray Mercer, one of the toughest tests of Lewis's career so far. And then in the final bout of the evening, two-time heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield, trying to come back yet again from his most recent loss to Riddick Bowe, will be taking on Bobby Ches, who's moving up from his previous sojourns in the light heavyweight and cruiserweight divisions to try to catch lightning in a bottle against Holyfield here tonight. How high is the quality of the fighters on this card? Well, consider this. When you look at 5 of the 6, you are talking about 281 championship rounds, 33 separate title fights, 3 Olympic medals, the ones we've discussed, plus the bronze medal that Holyfield won, 11 separate professional titles, and as we'll tell you when we get to Gonzalez a little bit later on, he's won some championships of his own. Working with me, as always, HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant. Larry, I think we've set up the card. 3 separate fights, 3 former heavyweight titleists on the card. What's the significance of it to the heavyweight division?
Jim, the only thing I can figure out is that from the old song, the Bronx is up, the Battery is down, New York, New York is a wonderful town once again. From Jackie Kennedy's auction to Wall Street to Broadway, from the Knicks and Rangers in the playoffs to the Yankees in first place, New York is undergoing an old-fashioned burst of energy, creativity, and prosperity. And now boxing is part of the action. None of the fights tonight figures to have cosmic significance, but we've got about 1,400 pounds and 200 years of heavyweights and perhaps 17,000 folks with excited expectations.
And indeed, they get a chance to see some excitement, as a couple of the bouts are expected to be highly competitive. Maybe, in fact, this first one. Tim Witherspoon at 224 pounds against Jorge Luis Gonzalez at 250. A couple of very big heavyweights, and here's one of the biggest and the greatest to talk about it with us, our expert commentator, George Foreman. George, back in January, Witherspoon came in here to the Garden and produced a surgical performance against a good technician in Al Cole. Now, he's got to come back with another big effort tonight. At age 38, how difficult is that for him?
Not very difficult. Tim Witherspoon is experiencing something called freedom now. Freedom to create, make money, and make a new name for himself. And he can get that second chance. He's going to take advantage of it, and I think that's what we're going to see tonight.
All right, we talked about the quality of the fighters here on the card, George, but these 3 former heavyweight champions are among a group of such men on the planet who number in double figures. And of course, there are 4 or 5 heavyweight champions out there right now. Our Frank DeFord suggests that heavyweight boxing might be well served to understand that in most cases, less is more. Frank?
Jim, once upon a time, everybody knew 4 people. The President of the United States, Walter Cronkite, Santa Claus, and the heavyweight champion of the world. Why, it was said that Muhammad Ali was the single most recognizable human being on the face of the earth. But oh my, how things have changed. Today, only a few dyed-in-the-wool boxing fans even know who a heavyweight champion is, and the rest of us have lost interest completely.
There was a time, my friends, when the whole world knew these world champions. And there was only one at a time, maximum, because there is only one world, and hence only one world champion. But now the woods are full of world champions. Now here is the current champ with the most seniority. He is known as the Atlantic City Express. And if you know his real name, you too are a champion of trivia. In fact, he answers to the name of Bruce S-E-L-D-O-N Selden. He is the WBA champion. But there are many champions.
Who are those guys?
Well, actually, you probably do know the latest of the world champions. That is Iron Mike Tyson, the new WBC champ. That is the title that means so much that Riddick Bowe once tossed it into a London rubbish bin.
But then the WBA crown means so much that once the Atlantic City Express, Bruce Selden, was forced to defend it on, ta-da, an undercard.
And Riddick Bowe is now the New York State World Champion, a world title he won in Nevada. The IBF title is vacant now because Franz Botha, the South African who held it last, was on steroids. And we certainly can't have anything like that in boxing. So the next IBF champion will either be Michael Moorer or Axel Schultz.
You have to move. You have to move. Move. Come on.
Who are those guys?
But class, that's not all. There is also the WBF champion, Adelson Rodriguez, and the ABA champion, Henry Cisneros, and George Foreman, who is considered the linear champion because he is the last guy standing, which means that he beat the man, who beat the man, who beat the man, who beat John L. Sullivan, whose claim was that he could beat any son of a bitch in the house.
Who are those guys?
Unfortunately, Big George is now primarily the world champion of commercials.
I guarantee it.
Well, actually, I did tell a little fib about one guy, just to see if you were listening. Let's go to the videotape. But that's not all, class. There is also the WBF champion, Adelson Rodriguez, and the ABA champion, Henry Cisneros.
And in fact, the ABA is the American Bar Association. And though Henry Cisneros sounds like a heavyweight champion, he is actually in the cabinet as the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development.
But be honest, did you know? Did you even care?
The problem is, as Eddie Futch, the knowledgeable old trainer, says, this definitely is not the golden age of heavyweights. Mr. Futch is being polite. This does not even appear to be the polyester age of heavyweights. Boxing, as we know, is a brutal sport that traditionally draws from the lower classes. The poor third world countries that produce most boxers nowadays do not, however, produce big people. And in the United States, the best big athletes go into more respectable sports. Ken Norton was a boxer. Ken Norton Jr. is a linebacker. Hence, we are left with mostly champions du jour, the worst of athletic inflation.
Who are those guys?
This guy is Jorge Luis Gonzalez. He's never held a professional heavyweight world title, but just to continue the theme, he's won 8 separate amateur world championships. And the record for Gonzalez as he comes in, 24 wins. The loss to Riddick Bowe last June in a one-sided bout in Bowe's favor. 23 KOs, and a lot of people thought, George, that Gonzalez was going to give Riddick Bowe a lot of trouble because of his size and his long jab, but he showed a marked inability in that fight to defend himself.
That's right. He has a habit of carrying that left hand just below the waist, sit and duck for Riddick Bowe's overhand right. And he threw them all night.
And that overhand right, as you saw, led ultimately to the knockout of Gonzalez. And now here's the man who's facing Jorge Luis Gonzalez here, Tim Witherspoon. Back in the 1980s, he won both the WBA and the WBC World Heavyweight Championships. His record, 44 wins, only 4 losses, 29 KOs. He may be performing better technically now than at any other stage in his career. Witherspoon coming off that big win over Al Cole here in January. Unanimous decision over the cruiserweight champion, coming up in weight, which demonstrated that Witherspoon is ready perhaps for bigger things if he can sustain it from fight to fight to fight. Tail of the tape now with 38-year-old Tim Witherspoon against 31-year-old Jorge Luis Gonzalez. You can see that Gonzalez has a 4-inch height advantage, weighs 26 pounds more than Witherspoon, and a 5.5-inch advantage in reach. Larry?
Typical of the flaky Gonzalez. After losing to Bowe, he comes in at least 15 pounds heavier than he did in that fight. I don't know, what can you expect from a guy who wears a goatee on the back of his head?
Punch stat numbers, Larry.
Take a look at how active they were in their most recent bigger fights, and you can see Gonzalez had a lot of problems with Bowe being on the defensive most of the time. Gonzalez has a big jab when he uses it, Witherspoon is expert in making a man miss the jab.
And rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Tim Witherspoon, Jorge Luis Gonzalez fight is scheduled for 10 rounds. The standing 8 count is in effect. The 3 knockdown rule is in effect. The referee or the doctor can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 10th and final round. Jim.
All right, thank you, Harold. Let's go up to Michael Buffer to pick up the pre-fight introductions.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Madison Square Garden, right here in the middle of the Big Apple, New York City, where tonight, main events, in association with your undisputed, undefeated king of beers, Budweiser. This Bud's for you. Present a triple rumble in the heavyweight division. This first bout is presented in association with Dennis Rappaport Promotions. All the bouts are sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission Chairman, former 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, Floyd Patterson. Commissioners Rose Trentman and Melvin Southard. Executive Directors Tony Russo and James Polzanello. Deputy Commissioner Bob Duffy. Chief Physician at ringside, Dr. Billy Lathan. Ringside Physicians, Dr. Rufus Sadler, Dr. Dan Hamner, and Dr. Richard Istrico. The timekeeper for all the bouts is Jim Borzett. The 3 judges scoring this bout for the 10-point must system will be Melvina Lathan, Luis Rivera, and Eva Shane. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, your referee, Joe Santarpia. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first of 3 times tonight, from Madison Square Garden, let's get ready to rumble! 10 rounds of boxing in the heavyweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing green trimmed with gold and weighing in at 250 pounds, he brings a professional record of 24 victories, 23 by KO, with only 1 defeat, a native of Cuba, but now living and fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, ladies and gentlemen, Jorge Luis Gonzalez. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing white, trimmed with black, weighing in at 224 pounds. An outstanding record of 44 victories against 4 defeats, 29 KOs. He comes to us from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the former 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, Terrible Tim Witherspoon.
Okay, guys, let's go. Hold on. Fellas, just 2 guys out here. Come on, everybody else, please. Gentlemen, you both know the rules. I want a good, clean fight. Are there any questions? No. Okay, shake hands now, and God bless you both. Good luck.
Jim, when I came to New York, I thought that Gonzalez had the best chance to pull an upset in these fights tonight, in part because Tim Witherspoon has a history of not being able to deal very well with prosperity. But after watching Gonzalez and seeing what his weight is, I am less convinced that this fight has the best chance for an upset. Let's see.
You know, last year when he fought Bo, he had no trainer of record, Larry. Since then, he's hired a former kickboxing trainer whose name is Nick Blumgren, and with all due respect to Blumgren and his kickboxing background, some people think Jorge Luis might have been better off with no trainer.
He's an example so far in his career of someone who stayed as an amateur for much too long.
Witherspoon is likely to unleash an unorthodox barrage of punches here to get inside and stay inside of Gonzalez's lengthy jab.
Free that hand, free that hand.
Witherspoon with a snapping overhand right. Gonzalez is always smiling in there, George. Maybe he knows something we don't.
I think he brings something to the heavyweight division that we really need. He has a little color, charisma, and I like it. smile, have some fun, at least act as though you are. Now, Tim Witherspoon is not doing what Riddick Bowe did. Riddick Bowe didn't give this guy any room to breathe or throw his left jab. He stayed on him every moment.
Witherspoon's too far outside right now.
He's too far away. All you can do is give this fella some confidence. And with that long left jab, if he gets some confidence, it can be a hard night for Tim Witherspoon.
Maybe Witherspoon forgot that he promised us he would be inside of that jab all night long. Right now, he's standing out there in Gonzalez's most effective punching range.
Gonzalez is most uncomfortable when his back is on those ropes. Tim Witherspoon hasn't made him touch those ropes yet.
Also hasn't been able to get to the body yet, except with blows that referee Joe Santarpia saw as low, and you saw Santarpia warning Witherspoon to keep him up. If Witherspoon allows Gonzalez to develop a rhythm with that jab, he's going to set himself up for a tough task.
Not only so, Gonzalez had a long career of amateur boxing matches where you stand there and you power, you jab, you throw them back. And Witherspoon is giving him that kind of career participation again.
Gonzalez trying to land uppercuts. Witherspoon landed a right hand. Both guys cut loose a little bit with a half-minute to go in round one.
And I would think that would be a disadvantage for Gonzalez. He shouldn't throw away at over 235-pound throwaways energies like that.
A lot of action so far between two good-sized heavyweights. Total of 474 pounds in there. Off of yesterday's weigh-in, maybe they both weigh just a little bit more tonight. That was a much better than expected first round for the Cuban defector, Jorge Luis Gonzalez. And as we go to Gonzalez's corner, we listen via the ears of our translator, Hector Garcia.
Oh, yeah. Ricky, put this on that eye. The bottom of that eye.
Hey,
Hey, loosen his fucking belt. The belt. Yep. Loosen a little bit. Okay, perfecto. Oye, lo dañaste ahí.
You hurt him?
We don't want it. What are they doing in there, George? Loosening his cup?
That's right. Sometimes you put on the same cup that you fought in before, and that thing is tight around your stomach when you come in a little heavy.
Round two begins.
I would like to ask Harold Letterman, can they do that?
You know, what are you going to do if the guy's untying the cup and he's loosening it up? I mean, the referee can tell him, hurry it up, but you can't really force him to come out of the corner.
I see.
You can penalize him, though, if he's laid out of the corner for no appropriate reason.
He was only in the corner a few seconds, after the bell rang. So
yeah, I think there was no real delay is the bottom line. Witherspoon trying to get his jab going here early in the second round. Gonzalez smiling at him once again. Witherspoon told us yesterday he doesn't like it to the body, and I'm going to get to the body. So far, he hasn't been able to do that.
There's already a bit of a welt underneath the right eye of Gonzalez.
No, Witherspoon hasn't established any kind of strategies. Should have been getting low, trying to find his head, putting his head on the chest of Gonzalez to establish, hey, I'm going to fight you inside. And right now, staying outside, roundhousing to the side.
Now he backs Gonzalez up and fires an overhand right. Gonzalez has been down only against Bowe.
Gonzalez is doing an excellent job of keeping the fight in the middle of the ring, where he has at least 3 feet a division from himself and Witherspoon. If he can keep that distance and stay in the middle of the ring, this
all but good things. Nothing but good things can happen for him.
What about holding his left hand low and inviting the right hand, just as he did against Bo?
Well, you can do that with a shorter opponent if you keep at least 2 feet away from him. But as he closes in on you, he's not a basketball player like Riddick Bowe.
And that time, Witherspoon was able to land with a chopping overhand right, punctuated that exchange. Witherspoon more comfortable here in round 2 than was the case in round 1. And Gonzalez, just a little bit tireder, doesn't have as much energy with the jab.
No doubt about it. Gonzalez is carrying the extra weight. It's going to have a great effect on him as the fight grows.
And George, he does keep his hands so low. He was able to get away with it as an amateur against talented but not very big men. I don't know if he can do that against a real professional fighter.
Well, if he keeps his distance. Remember, if a shorter guy is far away, he's got a long ways to get close to you, plus he's got to go up. With Riddick Bowe was equally as tall as he and probably had even a greater height reach advantage.
Now Witherspoon has begun to find the occasional opportunity to go to the body. He landed a left hook to the rib cage just a few seconds ago.
Okay, settle down and relax and go to that body. Keep your hands up and go to that body till you can open up something. From either side.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine by moving him back. It looks good, baby. You're doing beautiful. Good defense. Everything looks great. Okay, keep that jab on.
Make it open. Go to that body when you're in there.
Now, peace.
All right, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Jim, Witherspoon broke a small bone below his left pinky, appropriately called the boxer's bone, in his fight with Cole, and he had that hand in a cast until April 1st. I don't see that it's had any effect on him so far.
When you've had as many amateur boxing matches as Gonzalez, you know how to stand out there and box. That's one thing, if nothing else, they teach you in the Olympics. Build up points. Keep your opponent off balance. That's what Gonzalez has been able to do tonight.
Keep in mind that Gonzalez beat both Bowe and Lewis as an amateur. Although despite the fact that he won 8 World Amateur Championships, he was not well liked in Cuba because he defeated the great Teofilo Stevenson in 3 of his 4 fights.
He also beat Felix Savon, the inheritor to Stevenson's mantle as the #1 heavyweight in Cuba, and he claims Castro didn't like him for beating Stevenson and Savon.
And liked him less for defecting from the Cuban boxing team in Finland 5 years ago.
And Witherspoon's strategy should be, as soon as his back touched that rope, throw that overhand right then. He has nowhere to go but to bump into that overhand right.
Gonzalez moments ago was absorbing punishment to the body from Witherspoon and redirecting cameramen along the apron at the same time. There's a hard right hand to the body by Gonzalez. He's shown more variety in his attack here already in 2 rounds than he was able to show against Riddick Bowe last summer.
His corner should tell Witherspoon, as soon as his back touched that rope, throw your overhand right. But if it's in the middle of the ring, he got room to back away.
Round 3 of what is evolving into a technical battle between Tim Witherspoon in the white trunks with black trim and Jorge Luis Gonzalez in the green with black.
Seems that Witherspoon's strategy of getting a little closer is starting to develop right now. Getting closer and closer.
Hard left hand inside by Witherspoon as Gonzalez was stepping away. Witherspoon with a little bit of a crab-like defense. Tough to penetrate at times. See how Gonzalez's patience holds up. And Witherspoon once again lands a left inside, and down goes Jorge Luis. Overhand right by Witherspoon. And this is only the second fight of his career in which Gonzalez has tasted canvas.
Come forward. Come forward.
And Gonzalez was hurt by that right hand, and Witherspoon tries to come back with the same punch as the round comes to a close.
Grabbing you on the break. He's hitting you off the break. Keep that jab in his face and moving him back. Don't let him move you back.
Cuidado que no te pegue después del break, ¿ok? Y tú primero, muévete. Muévete, ¿ok, campeón?
How you feel?
Good.
All right, let's see what punch did it. It was that left hand hurt him, and followed by a right high on the head. The bigger they are, the harder they hit, the harder they fall.
Didn't look like all that damaging a shot, but he caught him right on the temple, and that's one of those spots, isn't it, George?
Yeah. This is a big, tall guy like that doing low enough to get overhand right to be able to land. It just doesn't make sense. Someone should consciously keep him aware of his height advantage, tell him to stay up high.
If he gets a real boxing trainer, maybe he'll have that advantage, George.
Too late, Jim. Too late. He believes he's an arrogant guy. You want arrogance in an athlete, but he is so arrogant that he hasn't taken advice from anyone since somebody told him to defect from Cuba.
So the learning curve for Gonzalez is there is no learning curve.
This is the same guy we saw in his first 2 or 3 fights in America.
All he has to do, even right now, is to keep his height advantage. He doesn't have to do anything defensive. Keep his height up. Push this guy away, stay in the middle of the ring, and he will not get dropped again.
Let's see how Harold Letterman has it scored through the first 3. Harold?
Jim, 29-27, 2 rounds to 1, Tim Witherspoon. I gave the first round to Jorge Luis Gonzalez based on that jab, but certainly rounds 2 and 3 to Tim Witherspoon. He waited and belted him around.
I've given all 3 rounds to Witherspoon.
And Terrible Tim landed another hard right hand in that exchange, momentarily wobbling Gonzalez, and Gonzalez has become, in this round, a defensive fighter.
The thing about throwing a lot of overhand right, you get tired. The bigger you are, the tighter you get.
So you think Witherspoon won't be able to keep that particular attack up for long?
He's going to have to sneak in some left hooks also, just to kind of readjust his body. You don't get one side of your body to get tired.
There's a left hook.
There's a left hook.
And another overhand right. He's finding it easier and easier to land as time goes by.
The closer he gets, the easier it is to land those overhand rights.
Tell me, George, can a professional go back to being an amateur and go back into the Olympics again?
Regain some eligibility, huh?
Right. He's proving his amateur credentials here tonight.
We got to remember, he's in the ring with a 2-time heavyweight champion. He's holding his own. The only thing he's doing wrong is the other tactics. He's not sticking to the kind of fight he needs to be fighting.
Witherspoon won 2 separate titles at a time when most people thought he wasn't fulfilling his potential.
Gonzalez just doesn't have a strategy.
No, and though you suggested in the first couple rounds that Witherspoon wasn't clear on his own strategy at that time, now Tim knows what he's doing in there.
He knows exactly what he's doing, and things are going right for him.
Another overhand right, another left hook. Those 2 punches are going to land for a while here unless Gonzalez can take some other tack with his own fight strategy.
It's kind of hard when you're overweight like that to get off those ring ropes and fight.
I want to remind you to join us May 20 for the premiere of Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, featured in this particular edition, the first one-on-one interview with controversial former Nebraska running back Lawrence Phillips. A look back at last year's tragic ring death for boxer Jimmy Garcia, and a report on the auto racing war between the Indianapolis 500 and its championship auto racing team's rivals. Real Sports, the only show of its kind, only on HBO.
Trabájalo, llavéalo y trabájalo. Irlo para atrás. Él está cansado. Él no trabajó tan duro para esta pelea, campeón. Estuvo 10 días sin hacer nada. Así que echa todo lo que tú tienes, mi hermanito. Este es el quinto.
Now you got eye thinking, Tim. Just eye thinking.
Every now and then, throw the stick right in there.
Yeah, go to the body and set it up from the body.
Stay on the stool. Stay on the stool. Stay on the stool.
Tim Witherspoon is like an old blues musician who's gradually found his rhythm and his chops as this fight has gone on.
And as Gonzalez has tired in front of him, it's gotten easier and easier. Now Gonzalez goes back to pumping the jab, which is what gave him success in the first round and a half.
Gonzalez has to get his rest in the middle of the ring. Can't go back to the rope and lay there and rest. And it's easy to do that. Just go out there and hold your opponent.
Tim Witherspoon told us yesterday that he lost several days of training because of lower back problems created when his special orthotic shoe inserts wore down and failed to give him the proper support. So now Gonzalez's corner has been telling Jorge Luis, hey, this guy missed 10 days of training. You ought to be able to wear him out.
I wonder how many days of training Gonzalez missed. He might have been depressed by hearing that.
And the referee, he shouldn't break until the referee tells him, step back and break. That's the way you get your energy level back up.
Gonzalez trying a long uppercut. And Witherspoon just misses with a close-in right uppercut that could have done a lot of damage if he'd had it on target. Now here comes the overhand right. Yep.
You can't miss. His back is on the rope. Throw it. It's going to hit something. You're going to always get some kind of pay dirt.
Almost as though Tim Witherspoon's listening to you in there, George Foreman. When he gets Gonzalez against the ropes, he throws left hook, overhand right.
And Gonzalez got so much potential. He's got so much ability. You just wonder why in the world won't you just stand out there and box?
Another hard overhand right by Witherspoon. He has got that thing mercilessly on target. Left hook lands again, too. I wonder how many overhand rights Gonzalez will want to take. Witherspoon may not have the power of a Riddick Bowe, but he has this thing dialed in. Corner, and Tim Witherspoon celebrates a devastating fifth-round TKO.
Remember, Jim, when he told us how he loved to chop wood, loved to hear the chopping of the wood, loved to see the wood splinters fly. He was chopping wood there in the corner.
That was old-fashioned stuff, George. And Jorge Luis Gonzalez absorbs the second knockout loss of his career. And you suspect that barring some dramatic change in his life, we're not going to see him at this level of the heavyweight division again.
It's pitiful, too, because it's all because of a lack of proper strategy. This guy has a lot of ability, a lot of strength, took some good punches, stood on his feet.
Well, let's watch the finishing sequence here, George, and you'll see Witherspoon landing a withering series of overhand rights and left hooks.
All the same punches over and over. This guy Gonzalez cannot get out of the way of something as redundant as the same punch.
Look at where his left hand is. Got his left hand down below his waist, even in an infighting situation where he ought to be trying to protect himself.
Even up top, if you just put your hands up, you just make him hit your punches, your gloves. Believe me, this guy Gonzalez just needs a trainer.
Well,
same punch over and over.
Probably too late to get it now, and he provided Tim Witherspoon with a relatively easy fight tonight.
Never too late. Never too late.
Witherspoon wins for the 45th time in his career. And now let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes at 2 minutes, 54 seconds of round number 5. The winner by knockout victory, showing he is still one of the most dangerous heavyweights in the division. He is terrible. Tim Witherspoon.
Once again, a look at Tim Witherspoon's final destruction of Jorge Luis Gonzalez as the clock was ticking in round number 5. Gonzalez unable to defend himself at the end against the constant barrage of left hooks and overhand rights from the inside. And now an overhand view and another look at how defenseless Gonzalez was with his left hand drooping down below his waist. And let's go to Larry Merchant in the ring with the winner, Tim Witherspoon. Larry?
Tim, congratulations. With your overhand right, it looked like he was a setup for you because he holds his hands low. Were you just waiting for those punches to fall in?
Yeah, well, I do well against tall opponents, like I said before. I train real hard. You know, I just thank God, man. I feel good.
There was a time when you couldn't stand prosperity, when you would find a way somehow to screw it up. What's happened and how do you feel about that now?
Yeah, I've been feeling kind of rusty like that now and then, until I'm sure of myself. You know, and I'm gradually trying to get confidence and more confidence that I'm going to do the right thing. I'm not going to mess it up anymore. We got our original Raiders of boxing back, and I can't do no wrong with these guys behind me.
What should be next for you?
Oh, Reddick Bowe. I like Big Daddy, me and him cool. But I think that I deserve a shot at Reddick Bowe. I think he's better than all the heavyweights, including Tyson, all of them. I think that Reddick Bowe is the one to beat, not Mike Tyson.
Thank you very much, Tim. Again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jim and George.
All right, thank you, Larry. Quick look at final punch stat numbers from Witherspoon Gonzalez. Of Witherspoon's 88 landed punches, the overwhelming majority were power punches, the left hook, the overhand right doing the damage. On the other hand, Gonzalez landed 78 punches, and the overwhelming majority of those were jabs, which stood him in good stead in the first couple of rounds, but he weakened considerably from that point forward. George Foreman, Tim Witherspoon's only 38 years old, so I know you think of him as a youngish heavyweight. Where do you rank him now among the contenders off of what you saw here tonight?
Look, he's a guy to be reckoned with. He is an ex-champion, and he looks like to me he can be a future heavyweight champion of the world. He's got everything it takes, conditioning, and he was able to stick with his strategy tonight. Those are all pluses. They even multiply after a while.
All right, so Witherspoon sets the stage for the two former heavyweight titleists who will follow him into the ring here tonight with a strong performance of his own. You heard what George Foreman had to say about it. Larry Merchant, your final comments on Witherspoon Gonzalez?
Chopping wood. Found himself a big old oak tree and just chopped him down.
Exactly what happened. All right, so the first of our 3 main events has taken place. In a few moments, we'll be ready for the second one, Lennox Lewis against Ray Mercer. But first of all, we've told you many times about the seminal place of this building, Madison Square Garden, in the long history of sports. For more on that and the man who made it all possible, let's go back upstairs to Frank DeFord. Frank?
Thank you, Jim.